All right, welcome back. So this is where we finished off. You should have done this next question. So I'm going to show you now. So here's your cumulative frequencies. I've added them as you go along. Okay. Now, if you then go and graph that, what you get is you get this graph. Okay. Now, this is very useful for us in terms of interpreting data and how to draw the graphs. But again, box plots are so much easier to understand very quickly. It's like the difference between some sort of bar charts or pie graph. There's different uses for them at different times. Now, when you're comparing data, box plots are so much more superior than cumulative frequencies. So as you can see, I've drawn the median, which is located at these points, and I've drawn a box plot from it. Okay, and as you can see, the consistency, we'll talk about this very, very shortly, is a lot higher for this because the box plot is smaller. But we can't compare it with the last one because it's a different type of data. Okay, sorry, difference. So the next one is this model. Now, as you can see here, I want you to still copy and fill in this. So basically, you're still going to give a go at doing the cumulative frequency graph. So I'm going to leave this here for a moment. I need you, if you haven't already, to try it. So just give yourself about 4 minutes to graph this cumulative frequency graph and box plot underneath. Now, hopefully you've paused the video and you've gone and done this cumulative frequency graph. So here is the cumulative frequency graph. So I've done men in blue and women in red. So I accidentally didn't copy across the titles. So sorry about that. Now, what you'll notice is the fact that it looks like the red have a lower value than the men. So we'll wait a second and we'll do a box plot for this and I'll show you actually what it's going to be. So I have another box plot now. Right now, I'm going to go and do that and I'm going to pause this and I'll be right back. Okay, so I'm hoping right now you've got something similar to this, where you've drawn in your median, your lower quartile, and your upper quartile. And then underneath, all I've done is I've taken those results. So my minimum and maximum was the same. And if you have a look, all I did here is I just read this little bit, and I read straight down, and I got my lower quartile, I got my median there, and I got my upper quartile there for men. And then I've got same for the women. Now, when you're comparing data, so when you're comparing two box plots, there's two things you need to compare. Now, there's going to be your next slide will have this, but what you need to compare is you need to compare the medians because median, remember, means average. So what you could say is that men, on average, spend less because the median is less. So when you are comparing, you must not only say that the what actually has happened. So on average, men spend less as the median is lower. So what you're doing here is you're not only reading and analyzing your data, you're just telling the person why that or how you pull that information out. So you've said the median's telling you average, therefore men have a lower average. So you have to put those two things in your answer. If you wanted to go one step further, you should say they have a lower average of 61, which is less than 78. Now, that's one point. You can always make two comparisons. That's your first point. Your second point of comparison is the fact that they're spread or they actually have a very similar consistency. So, what we look at is we look at the spread of this box here, how big that box is, how big the range of 50% of the data is around the median. So what we say is that the consistency is the same in men and women in this one. I don't know why, but I've just done men and mean because I'm thinking of range. So in men and women, as the IQR is the same. Now, it is a difference of one, but that can be a graphing mistake or a reading mistake. So I've actually just said they are similar or the same because there's not much difference. Okay, so all you're doing here is now that you've got these box plots, what you really need to do is you need to compare the averages. So the median, because that's one of your types of averages you can use. Remember, your averages are mean, median, and mode. Okay, and the only thing you can read from your unit frequency graph is the actual median. So our median here is our average, and you can say which one's higher or lower. The next thing is you can see how varied the data is. If this box was bigger for men, then it means that the spread or the so the spread of the data would be more, or you could say the consistency would be less because men would have a wider range of amount they've spent. That's the point. It's all about the range, but you don't use the full range, you use the IQR. The reason for that is because of outliers. Maybe one person has spent a lot of money, okay? Or if you did test scores, one person has got a really high or low test score in a class, whereas the interquartile range, if it's really tight, would show that they are all getting very similar grades. I hope that's really helped you today. So there's a bunch of questions after this. The next question has you drawing another two cumulative frequency graphs on one graph. Okay, two curves on one graph with box plots, and then making comparisons, which you'll have to do in your book. Following that on, there's actually a bunch of test questions for you to practice this skill. Okay, hope it goes well. Have a great day, guys, and I'll see you soon.